Good morning, everyone. For everyone trying to come up with a way to remember how to go about solving using the sliding or using the rule of combination of varignons, transmissibility, and the lever arm, how about this one? Slide, divide, measure the arms. If it adds more than one, you're gonna do harm. Alright, so let's see how that works in SketchUp here. I want to point out that I've drafted this right now. I've kind of done that and made the general structure as a group or a block or a component to hold it together, and I'll take that apart, and I've done the force individually. And so in this program I'm going to slide. Now the slide in this program, I'm going to go ahead and set a line that's a construction line there. I'm going to take this, I'm going to hold my grab, move, I'm going to hold my control key, which is not on yet. And you'll notice how in this program it's not going to actually divide up as nicely as AutoCAD would, but I'm going to hit my control key here and slide. That's pretty nice. Slow it down to there. Slide, divide, I can take now. I'm not going to really keep track of the layers. I'm going to take this, find that spot there, and it finds that there. I'm going to go ahead and so there's my divide. So I've got this one here, which I can't really see. If I give it entity info, it's going to give me that length of 3.295 in this case. And I'm going to give it this length, right click, entity info, slide, divide. And I don't know that this is actually a problem that you had. Slide, divide, measure the arms. And the arm in this case is not, as I'm showing here, the 4.902. The arm would be in effect from the endpoint to the point of application of the force. And usually if you've only got two forces, you can actually do the other one by subtraction. If you've only got one force on there, you can do the other by subtraction. Slide, divide, measure the arms. If it adds more than one, you're gonna do harm. So I'm going to point out here, this little force here is in the X direction, and I can go ahead, if I think, entity info, and change the layer of that back to something that maybe I can read a little bit better. And now you start to see how sometimes, layering works much better in AutoCAD. So in a second I can take this, I can see, say, the entity info, and I can put it on a layer that's frozen. So I'm going to do that in a second here, so I lose the structure when I'm done. So slide, divide, measure the arm. Well, the arm is going to be the radial arm or the moment arm. In this case, if you remember here, I can go from here, and I think it'll tend to find perpendicular. Though another one, you see that this program does not work as well. So there's going to be all kinds of different ways to go about taking this here and figuring out perpendicular. Slide, divide, measure the arm. And in this case, we're going to measure the arm to the individuals here. If it adds more than one, you're going to do harm. So I'm going to try to put in some text here, which is a little bit harder to do, but uses 3D text here. I'm going to click on that one there, and I'm going to do my 3D text as, and I want to put my height as a little bit lower. This is what you do on paper if you're smart. You're going to enter distance from the other support, which is going to be, if you want to think about it, 20 minus 15.25 divided by distance between the supports, in this case 20. I'll close that up. Times the force, which in this case was somewhere around this distance here, so I'm going to have to go in and change it. It's going to be a problem. Times f sub y. Now that's kind of flipping out on me. And later on we'll see that we can go ahead and rotate something holding the shift key and rotating again by holding the shift key. And that's what you have for this one. What do you have for the other one? Slide, divide, measure the arm. The arm in this case is the 15.251, right? Because the arms you're going to be talking about is the distance from the other support, because in effect what you're doing when you're solving this is you're writing a sum of the moments about this, and when you're solving this you're writing a sum of the moments about that. So slide, divide, measure the arm. And now just so you can see how layering can work in this program, window, layers, I'm going to make a new one so I can then turn it off. And so now when I go to this component here, right click, entity info, I can put it to layer 4 and it's not going to be seen. And in this case, now I can go ahead and look at my length there and my length there. So what I'm going to do is slide, divide. I'm going to go back and put two more little things on here, right? That was my force. These are my two component forces. What I really lost on this, as I thought about my layering, was this. I lost my layer 4, but all I really wanted on layer 4 in the end, maybe I wanted to have some sort of little spot here to mark that end. If I would, I'm going to mark a little spot here to do my best on this one. Right, now I've got a couple of things that will help me define. Slide, divide, measure the arm. See how that get a little bit fuzzy? So what I want to generally do, and I'm going to point out doing it in AutoCAD is even more important, I'm going to add a scene right here. I'm going to create the scene. The scene remembered these things as they were laid out. Now if I go back and make another scene, if I turn off my layer 4, right, or better yet, what I'm going to do is make two scenes here. Scene here, right click, scene manager. I'm going to add a scene, create a scene. Now I've got scene 2. This is the same as a combination of layers, layer manager, and views. So I've got this scene. Now in this scene I'm going to turn it off, and now I have kind of what I want to some degree. I'm going to turn that off, and though I can once again draft on layer 0, I can go ahead and draft a line from here to here to get my moment arm, and do the same from here to get my moment arm. But that one I really don't want. If you think about it, undo, draw a line, because it's walking on top of this. That comes down to thicknesses, colors, and the like. So I've got those two. But all I'm going to do right now is update one thing about this scene, and I'm going to update just the visible layers. So that is, in this program, is how you go from scene 2. I don't think I updated the layer, so I'm in scene 1, scene 2. I want to go to right click, scene manager. And before I go ahead and do that, I want to make sure my layers are set correctly. This is the layer manager thing in AutoCAD. I'm going to go to layers. I'm going to turn off layer 4. Now when I go here, right click, scene manager, I'm going to update. What I'm going to update is just my visible layers. And now if I go from scene 1 to scene 2, I'm starting to tell the story of what I want to do. Alright, so that's why the layering is important in terms of sometimes problem solving. Slide, divide, and measure the arms. Distance from the other support divided by the distance between the supports. If any individual line in that computation adds more than one, then you did something wrong. Your final check, of course, is that the sum of the forces in the x and the sum of the forces in the y is equal to 0. Thanks for listening. We'll try this again to get better at the SketchUp.